Welcome to the Wellness Creator Podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by my co-founder, Sandy Connery. Hey, Sandy.
Am I no longer the co-host? I'm just the
Oh, well, I thought
co-founder.
co-founder was like a better title. So in the moment of decision, I was like, I'm going to pick the nicer one.
Thank you. I am the co-host and the co-founder. Yes.
And today we're talking about top of funnel.
Yes, it's a topic that comes up in our coaching calls all the time. I think, any of us that start an online business, we have our expertise in whatever we know or whatever we're trained in, but we don't have the expertise in online business, right? And so a lot of people get really confused about, they may not even know what that term is. We define it all the time. There's a couple mistakes people make or misunderstandings that we want to go through so that all of you understand what a funnel is and what the top of funnel is and why it's so important.
Yeah. So, I mean, a funnel, neither of us, I think, love this term and have wrestled with it for a decade, but it's a useful analogy. And so when you think about a funnel and you're pouring liquid or seeds or something in a mason jar, right? Like it's big on the top, wide on the top, and then skinnier and skinnier on the bottom so that you don't spill what you're pouring. And that's not how business works. But essentially what you're trying to do is to go out and find this big group of people and let them know what you do in your business and what you sell and how people can work with you. And then this like tiny, as they learn more and more about your business, people are going to kind of like flitter away and not be a good fit. But the people who are the right fit are the ones who like make it all the way down the funnel and into the point of purchasing something from you.
Right. Yeah. And so I think one of the mistakes that we see is that our clients will have an existing audience and they will have a email list, and all they do is market to their email list.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they don't realize that they've already captured those people. And if you keep selling to them over and over again, launch to this existing pool of people on your email list, there's a bit of like burnout. Like the people that have bought, you're not going to increase your sales. And then you end up being really frustrated because nothing's changing. You're not growing. You're not getting any new sales. It may have been good at the beginning because people were new. The offer was new. They bought, and they may have, like another round of people may have bought again, but then it kind of just flattens out, right? So we want to talk about top of funnel and how to increase that wide part of the funnel. Where are those people? How do you get them?
Mm-hmm. And in the online world where everything is driven by attention span on the internet, this really means eyeballs on your business and on your brand and on your work. So we want you to be thinking about, like, obviously you will continue to send a newsletter and send your launch emails to your existing audience, like to your existing email list. That will always happen. But you'll find, as Sandy pointed out, over time that you're going to have less and less kind of juice in there. You're going to make less and less money from those existing people because if they were going to buy something, they probably would have bought it. So thinking about that, you need to be looking for new people. And that is, that's a strategy that always is changing. How to do that well on the internet is always changing. Like it used to be 10 years ago, you could post something on Facebook or post something on Instagram and you'd have this like incredible organic reach where these platforms would show your work to people for free. And that was the heyday of kind of internet business. Yeah. It was amazing. It was like, wow, people used to have to buy radio and TV spots for this stuff. I know, Sandy, you had to do that in your previous business.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden I can write a caption and put a photograph on Instagram and I get free eyeballs.
Yeah.
But then something changed.
Yeah. And it's the hardest work, like to go in front of new people or go and do the work in front of strangers, is hard. And so it is much more comfortable to kind of fall back to maybe your Instagram following and maybe to your email list, right? Like they're known, they're like your ride and dies, and just stay there and it feels really safe. But what we're saying is that is going to fizzle out and die, in a relatively short period of time. So we need you to think bigger. Where is your audience hanging out? What do you need to do to be discoverable? What do you need to do for people to be like Googling something or searching something on YouTube or Google or maybe in Instagram? and go, oh my God, this is exactly, this is what I'm struggling with X, and she's offering a solution to X. This is exactly what I need.
Yeah, or Pinterest or TikTok. I
Yeah.
mean, thinking about where people discover things, or so that what you're talking about, Sandy, is like search engine driven. People are searching for words, or they used to be hashtags in lots of places. But I think the other thing to think about is how do you create content, free content that's
Yeah.
so good that people are going to share it with their own audiences and their own friends and their own followers. So you're not relying on the robot algorithms to do that for you, but also to like be creating something that's so irresistibly good that your
Yeah.
existing fans are going to go out and share it, and then their friends are going to share it, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah. So you're right. I was really thinking about search, like how do people like search and find you, but probably a more safe or more higher probability way is to do what you're saying, is to get people to go, wow, this was so helpful, and my girlfriend needs to hear this too. And so that they hit the share button, or they send an email, or whatever it may be. So I think, yeah, so top of funnel, I know we teach this in our, you specifically, Jenny, teach this in our Visible program about creating content on the internet that is remarkable, that is amazing, that only you can write, that is just like really, maybe it means less content, but it's better content and helpful content and specific content that people find and share.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to hone in on that last word you said, which is specific, because I think that's where you can have a lot of agency and control. Like, it's hard for you as the creator or the writer or the video maker or the podcaster to know what's going to be great. I mean, you have your own ideas about it, but one way to kind of guarantee that something is going to get seen by more people is to be more hyper specific, because we like to talk about this a lot with our coaching clients. In general, when you are saying like very big phrases like wellness or healing or self-care or whatever, that doesn't really mean anything to most people. And it's certainly just going to get lost in the sea of the millions and millions of other people saying those words, right? So, but when you're like, oh, here is an article about how I did equine therapy for my ADHD, right? Like, oh, bing, 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 bing. That's like super hyper specific, interesting. And it's like, sure, you could call that wellness or self-care or healing or whatever, but right, it's also equine therapy for ADHD. And pardon me, I don't even know if that's a thing. I know it is a thing for PTSD.
People are now Googling it, like,
yeah,
I have
no, but I mean,
ADHD.
like, it's better just to make this stuff up. But like, that is the level at which we want you to be writing and creating content, is like hyper specific. And all of you listening are wellness creators, you're experts, you're teachers, trainers, coaches, healers in whatever modality or modalities you work in. You've learned some things, you've had some experiences. Like, that's what people want you to talk about.
Yeah. I was just telling you yesterday, I think it was, that there's a YouTuber that I follow who teaches how to grow on YouTube. And he just wrote an email saying, I'm quitting YouTube. And of course, I jump over and like, what? He has, I think, over 300,000 followers on YouTube. He makes good money on YouTube. And what he's doing, he's not actually quitting, was a little bit deceptive, but what he's doing is he is like hyper niching down, and he hasn't announced what the niche is yet, but he's doing exactly what you're just saying. He's like, I can't teach how to grow a YouTube channel to everyone, because it's just, all of my examples and all my stories don't make sense for everybody. So I'm niching down, and he will grow, I guarantee it, faster and bigger than he is now, with a very specific audience that has all the same questions and all the same pain points, So I thought it was he's huge, and he's still choosing to niche down.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost always the right decision. And if you have any kind of like stall out in your business, or you're seeing your revenue plateau or even decline, like, this is usually the first place you should go, is like, how can I create more specific content? But then going back to this like top of funnel idea, like, this is how you find people who are interested in something that's like hyper specific, and that's the audience that you want to grow. Like, that email list of hyper specific interested people is going to be many orders of magnitude more valuable to you as a business owner than a general list of random email addresses. Like, if you think about it, it really gives direction both to you as the business owner, but then
Yeah.
also to your community. Like they know why they're there. It's a very clear decision. We all have a limited, finite amount of time and energy and money to choose where to spend our resources, right? And so you want to make it very clear to people why they should hang around you and what you're doing.
Yeah. As counterintuitive as it may sound, and I'm sure lots of people are like, "Ugh, I can't exclude anyone." But by excluding many, your business will grow, we promise. And I forgot my second point of what you just said there. It's just gone. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like, this is the answer. Like, this is how and so essentially you can take our full course, Visible, and we'll talk about how to go purchase that, sign up for that later if that's something you're interested in. But the gist of it is like, be hyper specific about who you're serving and what your work does in the world, how you transform people's lives. Then you go make a boatload of content about that, whether you're a podcaster, YouTuber, blogger, whatever. Then you post that on at least one social channel where you are building a community and an audience. And like, that's the answer. And so you don't need to overcomplicate it at all. You just need, and that's how you get top of funnel. And then the next piece of it, Sandy, if you want to chime in, is like moving those people from your social channels and your blog and your YouTube channel on.
I know what my point was.
Email
conversion rates, the conversion rates. So what you were saying about like having a giant list of random people, that's fantastic and, you know, ego boosting, but when it comes to sell, they're not the same. So it's better to have a more concentrated list, and you'll have a better conversion rate if you're super specific and those people want exactly what you are selling. Okay. Second step. So you found the people. They're like, ooh, look at this blog post, or I found a podcast that's super interesting, or an Instagram post, like, wow. The next step is you have to get them onto your email list. The email list is the only thing that you own, really, because once they're on your list, you can market and sell to them in however you want. If it's just, I know we had a couple clients now that have had fairly big Instagram followings, which is amazing. But when she doesn't have control over that, she doesn't have their email, she doesn't have their, you know, any way to contact them and make sure that they can see it. So we want to move them from your general audience out there, wherever they may be, a podcast listener, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, LinkedIn. We want to move them into or onto your email list. You want to give them something in exchange for their email.
Yeah, and before we go into what that is, lead magnet, opt-in, freebie, there's lots of words for it. I want to go back to conversion rates and give an example, because I think our listeners could use an example of this as and we have one from our business that happened recently. So we have a pretty big email list, as you can imagine. We've been in business for 10 years. We serve hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. And so we get advertisers approaching us to advertise on our newsletter, for example, and other places. And our audience, the beauty of our audience is it's like hyper specific. It's like people, it's almost all women, not all, but it's like the vast majority women. It's like within a certain age demographic. It's obviously people who care a lot about health and wellness, right? And so sometimes we get these advertisers that are like, it's like an electronic curtain company. And I'm like,
blinds,
wow, you're just like
blinds.
spraying and praying out there, man. You're just like, anyone I can put this ad in front of, like, I'm gonna like just get in. Like, that's a bad idea. Like, and we didn't accept that advertiser because it doesn't, like, we really want to accept people that make sense for our audience. But like, you have to think about, they're trying to grow their business by getting top of funnel, getting in front of as many people as possible. And the other way we didn't talk about is paying for that, right? Which is advertisement. So that's very common. And yet, like, even in that scenario, you want to be like pretty calculated about who you're paying to get in front of. Because my guess is, like, if I ran a curtain company, I wouldn't go to like this wellness tech brand and like want to put an ad in their newsletter, right? Like, I would go to interior designers. I would find audiences of like home builders, or I don't know, like people who are likely to buy curtains. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sure there's some teeny tiny fraction of people on our list that want to buy an electronic curtain device. But like, I mean, that's like the most random thing. So like
Low
that's,
conversion.
yes, we want you to be thinking about like, where are the people on the internet who are actually interested in this thing that I do for a living, not just like random people, because
Yeah.
that's just vanity and a waste of your precious money and time.
Mhm.
That's all. Just want to hammer that in when you go, whenever you're thinking like, oh, I could get in front of all these people if I do this. Nope. If I write this blog post about how wellness is the future of health, nope.
Yeah.
Useless. Waste of everyone's time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about opt-ins. Tell
right.
us what an opt-in is.
So an opt-in is just like a free product. So it's like a teeny tiny little baby free product, also called freebie, lead magnet, et cetera, et cetera. You've probably heard about this. And it's something that you dangle out on the end of a fishing pole for free. So you say, okay, hey, if you give me your email address, hey, Instagram followers, hey, TikTok followers. I don't even know if they're called followers. TikToker people.
TikTokers.
Yeah. If you give me your email address, I'm going to give you this nice little guide to XYZ, or I'm going to give you this 3-part video series, or I'm going to give you a free consult call with me as a coach or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it is just a way. It's like an exchange. It's a little
Yep.
baby free
And we're
product.
going to do a whole other podcast on opt-ins, give you some examples and how to use them. So maybe we'll just leave that. It's just you're going to give them something in exchange for the email list. And now they're on your list.
Yeah.
And
Now,
what do you do?
Now, the next thing that you do is you deliver the thing you promised. And then we typically recommend that you send a nurture sequence, which is an automated series of emails that's introducing you, going a little deeper, telling people how they can work with you, and giving them a sense of what you're all about. So the idea with that is to get them to sort of, we call it warming them up, to get them more familiar to you. You're no longer strangers to one another, and to get them to send them emails that are interesting enough that they're not just going to unsubscribe as soon as they've downloaded the free product. So that's the next step. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that what you said about warming them up is really important. So once you have them from the internet onto your list, you will warm them up by giving them this nurture sequence, as Jenny just said, but also usually a weekly content, right? Which is another thing that we teach in our Visible course on how to do this. You want those new email list subscribers to be interested in what you're doing. You want them to recognize your name in their inbox. So you are literally educating them. You're giving to them, and they get to know you, and they start to decide if they would work with you or not. So that when you go to launch, which is like the narrowest part of the funnel, when you ask for a sale, when you pitch the program or pitch the course or coaching program, whatever, they're like, yes, it's been so helpful, right? And that's where the conversion rate will increase because they know you, right? You're not just some random person on Instagram asking, inviting over into the course. They've gotten to know the way that you teach, the words you use, the way that you speak. And usually that weekly content is that thought leadership piece. So maybe you're blogging, maybe you are doing a podcast, maybe you are creating YouTube videos, so you've been sharing and giving and educating and nurturing and warming so that the sale is easier. Not everyone's going to buy, of course, but that conversion rate that we were talking about will be higher because you spent so much time warming that audience up or that email list up.
Yes. And we talk about the relationship between kind of like creator and customer as like you're solving a problem for them. And we talk about this in our launch course, solving an important problem. But I think that's what you do in general, also like with your audience. Like they're not here to be your friends, right? Like we all have our friends. Like it's unlikely that someone's going to make a best friend by like subscribing to someone's email list that they meet on TikTok. Like that's not reality for most things. So like they're coming to you, they're getting onto your email list because like you're doing something for them. You're entertaining them, you're educating them, you're providing them with some sort of set of solutions that they need in their life at this moment in time, right? Like that's why. So you've got to keep delivering that. Like you've got to be that role in their life. Like it's not just like, oh, I downloaded this like great PDF and now we're friends. Like No, you're not friends. Like it's not friendship. It's something else. It's like it's still a really important, powerful relationship to be serving this audience of people, but it's not friendship. So you have to keep delivering value constantly.
Yeah.
That's part of the work. That's your actual job.
Yeah. So that's the funnel from like general audience, get them onto your list by giving them something, warm them up. And then at the bottom of the funnel, you actually ask for a sale. And along the way, you will have unsubscribers because it just isn't the right fit. It's not the right time, whatever. But but for those right people, for those perfect clients, those quintessential clients, they will end up at the bottom of the funnel, most likely purchasing. And if it's not this launch, it may be the next launch.
Yeah. And some people take years, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if this is something you struggle with and want to learn more, we have 2 courses that are relevant to this. Visible, which teaches you the thought leadership, how to get discoverable, how to do great, amazing things that are shareable out there on the internet. And then we also have a course called List Love, which teaches you about opt-ins. It has a checklist in there. There's 5 lessons. There is a checklist to tell you to make sure that your opt-in is irresistible. We have a list size calculator so that you can start to calculate when is the growth enough for you to launch again. And we also give you a template on that nurture sequence. So many of you have opt-ins, but are you backing it up with that nurture sequence? So this course also has a template. You just need to customize it, make it in your own words, and nurture them so that when you do launch, you're much more likely to sell to them. So those are available at thewellnesscreator.com. And we'll put the link in show notes.
Thewellnesscreator.com. It will take you to our shop on our Marvelous site with these courses. So these are business courses for wellness creators. And I just want to say something here. I just checked, Sandy, and we have received like 60,000-ish questions like that come in to our inbox over the last, and that's not even since the beginning, that's probably over the last 5 years, 6 years, 60,000 questions. And I just want everyone listening to this podcast to understand that this work that you and I have done on the side or on the back end of our software company is all to help you as creators on our platform succeed, right? Like we have received 60,000 questions, and we've built training programs and courses and educational materials and blogs and podcasts, et cetera, as a response to this process. So this is us trying to help you answer the questions that you have or that we expect you will have if you're earlier on in your journey. But that's what this is.
A great point. Yeah. Well, that's why we're doing this podcast, because we're giving away all this free information. That's why we went even deeper with the Wellness Creator Business School, so that you can go take a organized course, DIY your own time. And there's basically there's no end to that. Like you've got the material forever, and just go deeper and have it and use it, instead of just asking our poor support people what an opt-in is or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that the answer too is just like you need 2 things to succeed in your business as a wellness creator online, right? You need to have you need to have the tools, like the technical tools. So Google and Marvelous and camera software, whatever else. Like you need the actual tools and the skills to use them. And then you need to know how to be a business owner. Like I think you need to know marketing, and you need to know sales strategy, and you need to know like how to start and grow a business. And those aren't the same things. Like they're just not. And so we're just trying to help fill the gap there for you, because some of these things take a long time to kind of piece together on your own. So stay tuned. We're going to keep providing value in these podcast episodes, and we're going to keep offering you opportunities to go deeper if you need more than what we're sharing here. And of course, if there's questions that you have, and if there's a topic that you want us to cover that you're not seeing us cover on this show, you can always reach out to team@heymarvelous.com and just say, hey, I have an idea for a podcast episode for Jenny and Sandy, and we'll take that into consideration.
Amazing. Thanks, Jenny. That was a good one.
All right. We'll see you next time, folks.
Bye.